Brexit negotiators will make one last-ditch push to save the trade talks after Boris Johnson agreed a deal is still possible. The Prime Minister warned there were still major unresolved topics but vowed to go the extra mile to find a deal as it emerged. His chief negotiator Lord Frost was closing in on an agreement. Lord Frost has a few more days to establish whether an agreement can be reached. Mr. Johnson agreed to continue the talks wrangling over a post-Brexit trade deal during a phone call with European Commission boss Ursula von der Leyen this morning. In a joint statement, they said, "We had a useful phone call this morning. We discussed the major unresolved topics. Our negotiating teams have been working day and night over recent days, and despite the exhaustion after almost a year of negotiations, despite the fact that deadlines have been missed over and over, we think it is responsible at this point to go the extra mile. We have accordingly mandated our negotiators to continue the talks and to see whether an agreement can even at this late stage be reached." Chief negotiators Lord Frost and Michel Barnier, and their teams, will continue the talks immediately. It is understood the pair were able to make progress on the so-called level playing field after Mr. Johnson complained the EU was seeking to punish Britain for moving away from the EU's rulebook. EU and UK officials are said to be working on future plans for managed divergence. Under the plan, Britain would be able to move away from the bloc's environmental and workers' rights standards, but Brussels would have the power to impose trade tariffs to combat potential competitive advantages by UK firms. But in a move that seemingly unblocked the talks, the EU agreed it would only be able to issue corrective measures after a joint consultation between Brussels and Downing Street. Angela Merkel insisted both sides should use every opportunity to broker a Brexit trade deal. The German Chancellor told a news conference, "Every opportunity to reach a deal is highly welcome." Earlier this morning, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said the EU would have to shift on a number of issues before a deal becomes possible. He said, "We want to be treated like any other independent, self-respecting democracy. If the EU can accept that at a political level, then there's every reason to be confident, but there is still, I think, a long way to go." Irish Premier Michael Martin called for both sides to be creative in the final days of the negotiations. He said it would be an appalling failure of statecraft on both sides if the talks end in a no-deal Brexit.